Hey everyone, thanks for joining me this week. I'm Laura Adams, a personal finance expert who's been hosting the Money Girl podcast since 2008 with over 42 million downloads. I'm also the founder of The Money Stack, a weekly newsletter and community helping you build your bank account and live rich on your terms. I also work with select brands doing on-camera and writing work as a financial spokesperson and money speaker. I would love to work with you or to have you join my free newsletter. When you do that, you get behind-the-scene videos, invitations to special events, and more. One of the upcoming events that I would love you to join me on is a workshop on January 11th. It's called Develop Wealth Habits That Guarantee a Rich and Happy Life. I think that's an excellent way to start the new year. And by the way, if you can't join live, no problem. As long as you're subscribed to the Money Stack, you will get the replay. So to subscribe to the newsletter, email me your money question, or learn more about working together, visit lauradadams.com. You can also leave me a voice message by calling 302-364-0308. All right, today we're going to be talking about 401k retirement plans. This is a really popular topic because these retirement plans are quite popular. They can only be offered by an employer, at least the regular 401ks. And if you're self-employed with no full-time employees other than a spouse or a business partner, you can have something similar called a solo 401k. So these accounts are so great because they allow you to contribute a portion of your paycheck or your self-employed income and to choose various savings and investment options. It could be CDs, mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, to accelerate your account growth on a tax-advantaged basis. So with a traditional account, the advantage is that you can make a contribution on a pre-tax basis. So that means that's money that you don't have to pay tax on. So that reduces your annual taxable income and your annual tax liability. You defer paying income tax on those contributions plus your account earnings until you take withdrawals in the future. Or you might choose a Roth option if it's offered by your employer or your investing firm. Most firms are offering Roth now, at least for the regular 401ks. Some employers are a little behind. Maybe if you work for a smaller company, they may not be offering the Roth, but I would encourage you to ask for it because it is a pretty easy addition to the plan. So the benefit of a Roth is that you do pay tax up front on your contributions. So it is considered part of your annual taxable income. But the money that you put in grows entirely tax-free. So when you're in retirement, or at some point in the future, you can take out contributions that are entirely tax-free because you already pay tax on them. And you can also take out the earnings portion in retirement entirely tax-free. So all of that growth that may have been, accumulating in the account for decades is going to be tax-free income to you in retirement, which is pretty nice. So a Roth 401k or a Roth 403b is similar to a Roth IRA. However, unlike the Roth IRA, these workplace accounts or self-employed accounts don't have an annual income limit to qualify for contributions. I'm not going to go into it on this show, but every year there is an annual threshold for contributing to a Roth IRA. If you exceed that limit either as a single taxpayer or as a married taxpayer filing jointly, once you exceed that limit, you are no longer eligible to contribute to a Roth IRA. If you already have one, you can keep it. It can continue growing, but you just can't make new contributions in those years where your income is too high. So that means that even high earners can participate in a Roth at work or have one for their own business and reap those really nice tax-free benefits in retirement. This year, we saw a lot of changes to retirement accounts. So you might want to go back and take a listen to episode 793 called 2024's Big Savings and Retirement Rule Changes. So let's talk about the pros of investing in a 401k retirement plan. There are, many more advantages than disadvantages, but we're going to go through both. We'll talk about 4 main pros for participating in one at work or in your own business. The first is having federal legal protection. So qualified workplace retirement plans are protected by the Employee Retirement Income Security Act of 1974, which gets shortened to ERISA. This is a federal law, and it sets minimum standards for employers that offer retirement plans and also the administrators who manage them. ERISA was enacted to protect you and your beneficiaries' interest in workplace retirement plans. So it protects you if the company goes out of business or, something else unforeseen happens. But here are some of the main protections you get from ERISA. You get disclosure of important facts about your plan, features, and funding, and you should receive those on an annual basis. You do get access to a claims and appeals process to get your benefits from a plan if there are any problems. You have the right to sue for benefits and any breaches of fiduciary duty if your plan is mismanaged. And you have payment of certain benefits if you lose your job or a plan gets terminated. And you also get protection from creditors. So keeping creditors out of your qualified workplace retirement plan is an important but a lesser known ERISA benefit. Let me give you an example. Let's say you've got money in a 401k with an employer, but you lose your job and then you can't repay your car loan. If the car lender gets a judgment against you, they can attempt to collect repayment from you in various ways. But they cannot get into your workplace 401k or 403b due to ERISA. Now, there are exceptions when an ERISA plan is at risk, such as if you owe federal debts, you owe criminal penalties, or maybe you owe an ex-spouse under a qualified domestic relations order. Now, I want you to note that a solo 401k for the self-employed is not covered under ERISA because it's not an employee benefit plan. It's a plan for business owners and their spouses. So technically, a solo 401k does not enjoy the exact same legal protections as a regular 401k. So just something to know if you are self-employed. And I talk a lot about the differences between a regular 401k and a solo 401k in podcast number 804. All right, the second advantage you get from a 401k is perhaps getting employer matching funds. Many employers that offer a retirement plan also want to incentivize you to participate. So they will pay a matching contribution, which boosts your 401k value for free. And these typically come with a vesting schedule, which means you do have to remain employed for a certain amount of time before you own some portion or all of those employer-paid funds. So you want to think about that before leaving a job. However, you are always 100% vested in the contributions that come from your paycheck. So the money that you're personally putting in that retirement plan, is always yours. You can always take that with you. You can roll it over into a new employer's plan or an IRA if you leave the job. Let me give you an example on how matching might work. Let's say your company matches 100% of your contributions up to 3% of your salary. So if you earn $50,000 a year and you contribute 3% or $1,500 in the year, your employer would also contribute $1,500 on your behalf. They're going to match 100% of your contributions up to 3% of your salary. So that means you would have $3,000 in total contributions instead of just your $1,500 that you put in. So in this situation, that would give you an instant 100% return on your contributions before any investment growth, which is fantastic. And some employers might match 50% of contributions, let's say up to 6% of your income. So the actual structure of the matching is going to vary, but you want to make sure that you're setting your 401k contributions to at least maximize an employer's match so you're never leaving any of that really easy money on the table. All right, the third benefit of a 401k is having a high annual contribution limit. So once you contribute enough to max out any 401k matching, I'm going to encourage you to set your sights much higher by raising your savings rate annually. And a really good rule of thumb is to save at least 10 to 15% of your gross income for retirement, and certainly more if possible. For 2024, the allowable limit is $23,000. Or if you're over 50, it's $30,500. A great feature with most retirement plans is that they have an automatic escalation feature that actually kicks up your contribution percentage at a preset time, like on January 1. For instance, you could set up your plan to increase your contributions by 1% every new year until you reach 15% of income or max it out. That's a really simple way to set yourself up for success. You're kind of guaranteed to have a happy and secure retirement if you are increasing those contributions regularly and then getting to the point where you're maxing out the account. Now, if you have a solo 401k, the annual contributions are actually much higher than those I mentioned, but they do depend on your business income. You can contribute up to those employee limits that I just mentioned, so either the $23,000 or the $30,500 if you're over 50, but you can also contribute more as your own employer. For 2024, a maximum solo 401k contribution breaks down to either $23,000 or $30,500 as your own employee, plus a profit-sharing contribution of up to 25% of your business income for a grand total of $69,000 or $76,500 if you're over 50. In other words, the more you earn in your business, the more you can contribute to a solo 401k. It is one of the highest account contribution limits for the self-employed because it does come with that catch-up contribution if you're over 50. I use a SEP IRA because I do have employees, but I am not able to use a catch-up contribution. So, every plan is a little different, but the solo 401k comes with a lot of benefits. Now, note that you have a job with the 401k and you've also got business income. Maybe you're working on the side, you've got a side hustle you're doing in the evenings or the weekends. You can have both a regular and a solo 401k. However, note that the employee limits are per person, not per plan. So that means you can't exceed the employee limit, which, as I mentioned, is $23,000 or $30,500 if you're over 50 for 2024. So that cap is in place no matter how many 401ks you have. And if you're interested in having more than one retirement account, I definitely recommend that. If you've got the ability to fund it, you could go back to episode 790, which is called How Many Retirement Accounts Can You Have? All right, the fourth benefit is getting free investing advice. So after you enroll in a regular or a solo 401k, you have to choose from a menu of savings and investment options. Most plan providers like a Fidelity or a Vanguard have really helpful resources like online assessments and free advisors. So take advantage of any customized advice for choosing the best investments for your financial goals and risk tolerance. In general, the more time you have before spending a retirement account, so if you're younger, you have many years to go before you're going to need to tap the account, or let's say the higher your risk tolerance is, the more stock funds you should own. That's because they come with the highest potential growth, but they are also the most volatile, so could also give you the highest losses. Likewise, having less time to spend your retirement money or you've got a low risk tolerance means you want to own more conservative and stable investments. Those might include bonds, CDs, and money markets. And if you're unsure which investments to choose or what combination, don't hesitate to ask for help from your benefits administrator, your retirement plan custodian, or a financial advisor. All right, now let's switch gears and talk about the downsides of investing in a 401k retirement plan. As I mentioned, it's got way more advantages than disadvantages. There are some cons to consider. One is you may have limited investment options. So compared to other types of retirement accounts like an IRA or a taxable brokerage account, your 401k or 403b may have many fewer investment options. You're not going to find alternative choices in most cases like precious metals, commodities, or cryptocurrency. Typically, it's just the basic asset classes, including stock, bond, and cash funds. Now, there are some firms that do allow you to invest in alternative assets or to even set up a self-directed retirement account. And I'm going to put a couple of links to some good choices in the show notes like Alto and BitIRA if you want to learn more about putting alternative investments in your IRA. All right, the second downside of a 401k is that it may come with higher account fees. So due to a lot of legal and accounting responsibilities that are required by employer-sponsored retirement plans, they're going to charge fees to administer 401ks for employers. And as a plan participant, as a worker, you have little control over those fees. Now, you could complain to your benefits department if you are paying, what you think are high fees, but in a lot of cases, there's not much they can do about them either. However, if you have a solo 401k, you can shop around and compare plan options like the fees, the investment choices, and the ability to make Roth contributions or even to take loans from that account. And whether you have a regular or solo 401k, one way to keep account fees as low as possible is by selecting low-cost index funds or exchange-traded funds when possible. So taking a look at the what are called the expense ratios on each of those investment choices is something just to keep an eye on. All right, the third downside is that you must pay fees on early withdrawals. Now, this is not something that's unique to 401ks. This is an inherent disadvantage of putting money in any retirement account. You do get penalized 10% for taking withdrawals before the official retirement age of 59 and a half. Plus, you typically can't tap a 401k or a 403b unless you have a qualifying hardship. And that rule is in place to discourage you from tapping your account. The idea is that we want to keep it growing for retirement. So never put money in a retirement account that you're pretty certain you're going to need for everyday living expenses. If you can avoid expensive early withdrawals, the advantages of using a regular or solo 401k far outweigh the downsides. And I have one quick favor before we go. If you're enjoying Money Girl, we'd love you to take a moment to let us know that you're getting value from each weekly episode by rating and reviewing the show in your podcast app. That's all for now. I'll talk to you next week. Until then, here's to living a richer life. Money Girl is a quick and dirty tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Steve Rickyberg. Our director of podcast is Brandon Gaetschus. Our digital operations specialist is Holly Hutchins. Our advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our marketing and publicity associate is Davina Tomlin. And our marketing assistant is Cameron Lacey.